Whenever you just bought Le Mans Ultimate or you already been driving it for some time, these are 57 things every Le Mans Ultimate driver should know. I've spent stupid amount of time in the sim, building setups, racing online, and tested all kinds of nonsense so you don't have to. Because Le Mans Ultimate has all these like little things you simply cannot know in the beginning. And if you don't know them, it makes this simulation just like 10 times harder. So let's get into it. Now everyone needs to buy the base game of Le Mans Ultimate, but you only get a few tracks and a few cars, really limited. But then after that you got a million options. The one that I stick to is the Pro Plus subscription. This unlocks everything in the game. You can also get different DLCs, but you still won't be able to do different events. You don't have custom liveries. I think this is the best choice. And if you don't like the game anymore, you just stop the subscription and that's it. Give this sim 10 to 15 hours to adjust. Everything will be feeling a little bit weird in the beginning, but after a while you start to enjoy it. You can't argue with taste. Everyone likes different simulation feels, but the netcode and the car contact in Le Mans Ultimate is superior over any other sim at the moment. And this game purely focuses on GT3, LMP, hypercars and GTE. There is huge car depth to every car particularly. They sound different, they feel different, they are different on tire wear, fuel consumption and setup changes. The downside of this simulation is the amount of tracks you can pick from. More on that later. When you are a complete beginner, you need to do like 10 or 15 races in bronze series before you get your safety rating up to silver, and this allows you to race more challenging and higher safety rating events. Tire wear is a real thing. If you are careful with your steer lock, not overdrive the car, avoid spinning, then you'll save tires and that will make you quicker in longer races. When you start lifting before the braking zone, or you can find a corner section where you don't hit the throttle, you start to save fuel, you go off sync, and especially when races get longer, this will give you a strategic advantage. And it will also save tires a lot of times. Bugs and inconsistencies. This game has some bugs. It's 100 times better now, but there are still plenty of messages in discords and communities that people crash their game or they can't join. Go to their discord, file a complaint or something, because they're constantly reworking on it. And when a game updates, there are new bugs added. A lot of features are added, but also some bugs. It's how it has been. This game has something called virtual energy and fuel. On the bottom right you can see I have 22 laps of fuel and 20 laps of energy. What does that mean? Well, it means that I can change the ratio. Make sure you always have a little bit more fuel in the car than you have energy. And why does this exist? With the energy component into it, it means that every car has the same time required to do a pit stop. When you do races, look at the bottom screen and see if you need to add or lower some ratio, because you don't want to run out of fuel while 30% of energy left, for instance. There's one button you absolutely need to have mapped out on your steering wheel, and that is the speed limiter, and this is something you need to use in your race starts. Later on in the video I will do another few of these controls you cannot go without. When you do a race start, be predictable and stay on your line. 99% of race start chaos and collisions start with one individual changing lines all of a sudden, and that's how most mayhem starts. When you join the practice server and you start driving for a longer time, now all of a sudden you see all these blue Le Mans Ultimate cars appearing. These are cars that are not loaded into your sim. If you go back to the pits, then everything will be good again. You can also map a button, load vehicles, but take note, do this on the straights, because the game always freezes for a tiny second when you load all vehicles. And while we are still on the subject of buttons, Reset FFB is one very much important, especially for Moza users like myself. I also have some settings in the description, or check out the LMU FFB app. This gives you an alternative route on how force feedback feels in Le Mans Ultimate. When chasing a Porsche GT3, Be aware that the brake lights of this car don't really work. At nighttime, at daytime, you cannot really see if a Porsche is braking in front of you. These are all the tracks we have currently in this simulation. And if we go back to the past, they have been added like 5 tracks and a few more layouts last year. And maybe this year we'll get like 2 or 3 other tracks. On average, this is a wild guess, you can expect like 5 tracks per year to be added. So maybe we'll get like 20 or 30 tracks in 2028. Who knows? If you're into VR, Le Mans Ultimate is, in my opinion, the best simulation to race in VR. Super stable, beautiful graphics, and if you have a system for it. And in the description, I always have a discount code for Pimax, and if you're using these codes, I'm forever in your debt, sir. If you like GT3 cars the most and you're in a bad plateau or you cannot improve on lap times, pick a hypercar. Start learning these hypercars and the LMP2 or maybe the LMP3, because this will force you to be a better braker in a way, and that skills and those techniques you carry into GT3 as well. When it starts raining, have a look on your MFD on the bottom left and see the track. If it's slightly wet, then you go to wet tires. If it's still damp and you're on dry tires, you can keep driving even though you see the rain on your windscreen. And only when the track is going dry again, you switch back to the dry tire. So if you're on a wet track and the track turns damp, then you can still drive on wet tires. Dry weather setups you can actually use in rainy conditions. This is what you need to do most of the time. What I do at least is I add 2 clicks of every TC. I might drop the brake bias a lot and go to ABS 6. And if you're super scared for fast speed cornering, you can add a clicks of rear wing, and now you can just use your dry setup for wet events. Most lap time is found on the exit. If you're miles off, you are mistaking the exits. Either you steer too much when exiting corners, or you need to wait too long before you can go put the power down. If you're stuck on lap time, brake early, but then also release the brakes early. This makes you approach corners in a different trajectory, and that can just sometimes result in a better exit, which then gives you a better lap time and a better straight line speed. One might put down the perfect quali lap in this sim, but that is not a guarantee that they will win the race. Every car is different on tire wear, fuel consumption, and overall race pace, especially when events getting longer. Damage on a piece of bodywork does not automatically mean you're gonna be a lot slower. So whenever you are in contact with another car, check your lap time. Sometimes this is no influence on your lap time at all. The rating system in Le Mans Ultimate is a bit broken at times. We got a mega inflation of safety ranks, so if you just keep doing some races and you'll finish them and you have some contact, you'll be Platinum 3. It's pretty much impossible to get a Platinum driver rank. Most people that are somewhat consistent and split one drivers will have Silver 2, and then a few aliens here and there will get a Gold rating, but pretty much everyone will be Silver 1 or Bronze 3. And to add a new layer of complexity, we also have badges. So you have trusted racers, good drivers, you have warning signs. This has been somewhat inconsistent. There's a lot of different stories about this, but what it basically means, if you were in a lot of contact and collisions, you'll get this warning sign and you can get a ban for this. So behave online and try to not make collisions. When you race offline with the AI, practice sessions has no influence on your rating system. You don't have to worry about tire pressures, because when you go higher on tire pressure, you definitely will overinflate them. So you can keep this on lowest, and on camber values you also don't have to worry. 9 out of 10 times, low values is the way to go. Why is this important? Well, a good tire patch will give you the best lap time, and low camber does give you the best patch overall. But you do have an influence on tire heat. So if you're driving a race and you see you cannot get past 70 or 75 degrees, then you can add brake duct blanking, and this will make sure the braking discs of the car get hotter, which then radiates out to the tire rim and the carcass and the tire patch. However, this is a little bit for the fine-tuning, so don't expect when you close them you're gonna heat up your tires within 3 corners. Fixed series are disguised cup races. So what does that mean? Well, in fixed series I cannot change my car setup, and you most of the time see that one car is just fastest on that track that week. If you don't know which car to pick, the BMW a lot of times does well on the fixed events. So which cars are the easiest and the hardest? I think GT3 cars are the easiest, followed up by LMP2 or LMP3 cars, and I really believe that hypercars are the most difficult, but they are absolutely great when you're advancing in this sim. And hypercars are complex. You got a million setup parameters and changes that you need to do. If you want to avoid some complexity, you can pick the Aston Martin Valkyrie in the 2025 hypercars. They don't have a battery system, so you can just focus on the driving. And there is another car or another 2 cars that have this. Please let me know in the comments, guys, which car also doesn't have a battery. A few of the older hypercars, I believe. And if you do want to use a hypercar with a battery system, map a button with the motor map so you can add battery to the car. So if you look at the bottom right and you see my motor map is now 200 kilowatts, you see it starts to empty after 200 kilometers. And the best pace and performance is found in hypercars when you have it to 50%. If you want more detailed videos about this systems and how it works, I highly recommend Alex K. What a third of a Ferrari this is in the first sector on Le Mans. To make hypercars better, I have set them up in different skill levels. So if you go to the description, I have skill level setups for all these cars, and lower levels typically make these cars way more forgiving. So what you just saw will not happen on a level 1 or 2, and then when you get more advanced you can pick higher levels which are more aggressive, will unlock lap times. I have them for GT3s, LMP2 and hypercars. Check out the description. Instead of doing daily races, try to do a special event. Now we don't have any special events, but the beauty of Le Mans Ultimate is in the special events team races with 4, 6 or 8 hours of endurance racing is absolutely something you want to experience from time to time. Don't be afraid for coasting mid-corner. So if you drive, you hit the throttle, you're accelerating, you're braking, but lift off the throttle, don't touch the brake, and let the car roll in and out of itself. It's not that costly on lap time, you'll save some fuel, and it will make the car more stable in a lot of cases. So don't be afraid to lift every now and then. If you're tired of madness, collisions, sweaty sprint races in daily races, you can also do hosted races. Host your own and create a small community. We have some races too as well, only it is fully booked now at the moment, but you can also go on the SimGrid, find a community, because closed communities racing is cleaner than daily races. Not always, but there's more potential for better racing. 99% of bad drivers are making these mistakes, not necessarily on purpose. It's more like an ignorance thing. So instead of name calling and calling everyone an idiot who made contact with you, educate them on a friendly way and not call them out all the time. If you cut a corner, you'll get a yellow or orange message. And it's always a surprise how much cut you will get. So if you cut the corner, lift or brake a touch to not get the penalty. 1 point? Are you kidding? And there are some track limits that are really punishing, like a Rouge and Spa, for instance. When qualifying starts, be a bit patient, because the timer says like 15 seconds before you can go out on track. If you don't do this, you get a drive-through. Every quali I do, I see someone just leaving the pit too soon on the qualifying. A lot of events don't have tire warmers, so you'll go out on track and you'll have cold tires. It can take up to 4 or 5, maybe 6 laps to heat up your tires properly, and do that a little bit careful, so drive under your limit when you have cold tires. It's also better for the tire life. When you spin, rejoin safely, because bad rejoins do not only ruin your race, it can also potentially ruin 10 other people's races. When building car setups, turn on the tire warmers, go to advanced, and have flag rules and track limits to none. This allows you to speed in the pit lane and cut a corner accidentally and still log a lap time so you can actually measure. Not really realistic, but it saves a lot of time, and don't get used to it, because like if you go on autopilot turning off the pit limiter all the time in like a normal event, you just get a stop and go. So don't get used to it. Medium tires should be between 80 or 90 degrees. When it's hot weather, you take the hot tires, and when you gonna do that 1 or 2 laps, you can pick a soft tire, but 9 out of 10 times you wanna pick medium tires for hypers, and with GT3s and other cars you only have the mediums. There's a time machine in Le Mans Ultimate, and it's called the fuel usage ×3 and tire wear ×3. So if normally it would take you 60 minutes to practice to see what the tire wear is, the multiplier ×3, you know what the tire wear will be within 20 minutes. How to brake in Le Mans Ultimate? Well, hit that brake 100% in that steep hard braking zone on Monza turn 1, but use very nuanced braking in fast corners, round edges like Paul Ricard. Be gentle on the brakes, because when you hit the ABS in a GT3 car, you understeer, and obviously in hyper LMPs you lock them up. Fixed car setups are the default car setups in Le Mans Ultimate, and they are not necessarily safe, nor are they necessarily slow, but that's just something you want to know. You could still be super quick with a fixed setup. If you keep spinning in hypercars, for instance this Cadillac, the first step is increasing the brake bias, this meaning the front value up. But if that's not enough, which might be the case, you soften rear springs, rear anti-roll bar, detach this too much. And what also really helps is increasing the coast differential. That helps to make the cars planted and safe on corner entries. Map a button called TC Override. What does this do? This turns off traction control with a click of a button. And this can help you to spin the car quickly when you're facing the wrong direction, but it can also help you to gain additional rotation in fast corners where you kind of already on speed, but you just need a little bit more. Touching this traction control override can help you to rotate the car better, but it's very nuanced. Most important car setup change that exists is the brake bias. When you drop the value, the front value goes up. This is a safer brake bias. Bringing it up backwards makes the brake bias more aggressive. This creates rotation and makes the car rotate under braking. Daily races have weather conditions mixed in. So you see here on the bottom that we have rain on like the 4th part of the race, but don't assume this is gonna be the same every time. So in some races you'll see that it actually starts to rain, and then in other daily races it might not rain at all. When driving on the Le Mans track on the straights, typically you'll find that LMP and hypercars should not drive in the middle, and GT3s do, because LMPs and hypers bottom out in the middle of the straight of Le Mans, and GT3s actually are lower on track, which generate sometimes a little bit more of top speed. So thank me later. When you spin the car and you hit the gravel, The gravel is not really stopping the cars as hard as they should do. So just know that when you hit the gravel, you might still hit the barrier with a significant impact. When you spin, when you lock up, this is devastating for the tires. So try to drive under your limit and avoid heavy spins and big lockups, because you'll get the vibrations and it's really bad for overall performance. Pedal force is not necessarily brake pressure. I have seen on some setups that a little bit of less braking, little bit of less pedal force can actually result in way better tire life and a lot more predictable braking than always going for that full 100%. So on an LMP it is, I think, 85. And on hypers, a lot of times it's 95. Most CD3 cars I use 100. But try it out, because tires, if you can save tires by a few less percent, all the better. You don't always need to use the whole track. So if you're on tracks like Interlagos or Fuji, make sure you take the shortest route when you're accelerating, because there are multiple tenths of seconds hidden in driving the lap in like the long radius, the long way round. So you really want to get close to the shortest route possible. Have a look out for layouts, because you can drive the Qatar, but if you're on a short circuit, now all of a sudden you get surprised. All of a sudden the track changes. Also for Paul Ricard, we have multiple different layouts. This is all very nice, but be aware which layout you drive so you don't get into surprises when you're doing your races. If you have another tip to add here in the description, thank you, mate. And if you want to build car setups for GT3s, I have a 3-step system over here that you can use to build your own setups, test them out, and get the most out of the car. Click here, this one. This is the one.